Oh my gosh, grief growers. I am so sorry for the delay today. I'm going to go ahead and upfront apologize for that one, but I just got off of a phenomenal and very long podcast interview that I'm so excited to share with you later this month, later in season 2 of Coming Back. So thank you for being patient with me, and I'm so excited. Thank you for joining me for another Facebook Live Monday. This Monday, I want to talk about the concept of grief as an invitation to grieve with your heart open. And this is a really tricky concept because it's kind of like, it can be construed as one of those cliches. It can be misconstrued as a cliche of, because you've gone through grief, now you have a greater capacity to love. But especially if you're in the beginning of grief, or if you're in the midst of grief right now, you're like, no, that's not what this is to me. That's not how this feels. That's not what I'm looking forward to in the future. All I want is for things to be like they were and to not be grieving, which is a totally understandable and human place to come from. But this all kind of sparked from a conversation that went on in the Grief Growers Garden, which is my private Facebook group, which so many of you are members of and contribute regularly to. And the conversation was actually surrounding my cat, who's like walking around my feet right now as I'm recording. And the conversation was in regards to another podcast episode about pet loss. And I had posted a picture of me and my cat is alive. He's walking around my feet right now. He's very much alive. He's in good health, all of this stuff. But we were talking about the concept of pet loss and having to bury a pet or having to or go through the death of a pet sometime. And I mentioned in my post about how it's already a thought in my brain that my cat's going to die one day. It's already a thought in my brain. The day that my mom died, I all of a sudden was opened. I had my eyes open to this notion, this idea that pardon me. I'm live right now and Siri is haunted and talking back to me. I have no idea what's happening. This is the very first time this has ever happened. I literally just started talking and all of this came up on my iPad, which is sitting right next to the computer. It recorded me saying he's very much alive, in good health, all the stuff we're talking about, the concept of pet loss, having to bury a pet. And literally, it's all these websites and resources for pet loss. So if you're ever curious as to whether or not Siri can help you with your grief, the answer is yes, she can. I'm going to put this on silent. I am so sorry. It has been such a day for tech grief growers and such a day for things to kind of go along and be crazy and not go according to schedule. But sometimes that's where a lot of beauty and laughter comes in. So I hope you enjoyed that today. I heard a voice and I was like, excuse me. I can't believe this is my day. This is so much fun. So in this group, in this conversation in the Grief Growers Garden, we were talking about the fact that once my mom died, I knew without a doubt that every other person, every other pet, every other being, every other job, every other house, every other relationship in my life was going to die. So there's this recognition that we walk around with after we've experienced grief for the first time, where we know for sure that all things will end, that all of our relationships, all of our loved ones, all of our pets will die. These things will die. They will go away. They will be no more. Their physical presence on the earth will not exist. And one of my grief growers commented, she's like, he's alive right now, but isn't it a shame? Isn't it a shame that already you're thinking about his death? Isn't it a shame that we cannot have these full 100% relationships anymore without this like 5% of grief in the background? Isn't it a shame that we can, because of grief, we can no longer go through the rest of our lives without always having grief, without always having thoughts of death, without always having these thoughts of what if, what when will, it kind of floating around in the back of our space. And I thought this was such a neat statement because it is true. It is a shame. It sucks that once the people that we love die, once the pets that we love die, once we change jobs and have breakups and things like that, we recognize that it can happen again, anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances. And so there's just this annoying, irritating, ever-presentness of grief that gets a hold on us and says, no matter what you do, no matter how fully you love, no matter how fully you experience, no matter how deeply you care, one day this will be taken from you. One day this will be gone. One day this will be no more. One day this will not exist. And And I just had this thinking of this for a moment where I was like, yeah, it is a shame. And I don't want to not acknowledge that this is a shame, because that does a disservice to grievers everywhere. It is a shame that once we grieve once, that we walk around with this 1%, 5%, 10% grief lurking in the back of our heads. But also, if you seek to reframe it, and I always get chills when I say this, if you seek to reframe it, grief, this ever-presentness of grief, now that you've experienced it once, you will experience it and enter into a relationship with it for the rest of your life. Your relationship and your experience with grief is a reminder for the rest of your days that you have an open invitation. You have an ongoing invitation to grieve with an open heart, to continue to try again in relationships, to try hard, to invest yourself in things, and to love really, really hard. You have an invitation to walk into the world and say, I already know I'm going to lose you. I already know this is fact in my life. I already know that one day you won't be here anymore. I already know that this is temporary. So let me live this as fully, as openly, most lovingly, most communicatively, most honestly, most graciously, and gracefully as I possibly can. This 5%, 10%, 15%, 100% grief that sits in the back of our heads is this constant reminder, I'm going to lose this one day. So what are you going to do with that time? What are you going to do with this experience? What are you going to do with this job, with this parent, with this child, with this pet, with this home that you've created for yourself? Are you going to spend the rest of your life hesitating towards it or hesitating with it, and in this tiny relationship where you take small pieces and small bites out of the full joy that you could get out of it? Or are you going to transmute this shame that, yeah, you're always going to have 5%, 10%, 15%, 100% grief in the back of your head, into something that says, yeah, but now I'm really going to enjoy my life with you. Not only am I going to think about your death, your eventual death, but I'm going to think about every single moment that I get to spend with you, and I'm going to be grateful for it. And this is not me telling you that you need to be grateful for your life. Now that you have grieved, you should be grateful for the life that you have, because being grateful out of fear and being grateful out of anger or being grateful in the midst of grief, it sucks, and it's not a good feeling. People telling you should be happy and thankful for what you have left, it sucks. But what I'm telling you is, when this thought comes up, when you have this feeling that this is a shame, that I'm never going to experience life as fully, as wholeheartedly as I did when I was a child and didn't know that these things existed, or before I knew that one moment could change everything for me so drastically, that's a shame. When that thought comes into your brain, say, yeah, it is a shame. But it's also this magnificent reminder, always 5%, 10%, this just nagging, kind of irritating message in your head that you have an open invitation. Grief is an invitation to live the rest of your life with an open heart. It's an invitation to make a choice. It says, are you going to be focused on the fact that this is a shame, that you've experienced grief once and you're going to experience it again? Or are you going to focus on the fact that grief gives you this wider lens with which to view reality, with which to perceive your relationships, with which to honor the endings of these relationships, and say, yeah, I'm going to try again. That last relationship, we broke up, but maybe I could try again, fully. My mom died. My cat's going to die. That doesn't mean that I cannot love them with just as much ferocity and joy and fullness as I did the first time around. It's this acknowledgement that I'm signing the contract. Now I know what I'm signing up for. When I sign up for a relationship with anything, whether it's a job, a home, a pet, a child, a parent, a mentor, a friend, I know this is going to end. There's this deep knowledge in here, guys. There's this deep cracking open. I said this on the podcast, but when you've been through grief once, you acknowledge that for the rest of your life, you're making an active choice to be in, fully in, everything that you're invested in. You know they're going to end, so how are you going to treat it while you've got it? Just a powerful reframe of this idea that it's a shame that we're stuck with grief for the rest of our lives. Yeah. Like, no kidding. I would take this away in a heartbeat if I could. But now I have these eyes that are wide open to this experience of, now I know what I'm getting into. Because I know I'm going to grieve you, I love you. I can't say any more than that today, guys. Siri can't say any more than that today, guys. I love you. Because I know that one day this will end too. I love you. I see you. I am proud of you and the work that you're doing in the world. And yes, because I know this will end, inclusive of the fact that I know this will end, I love you. I hope you have enjoyed this late, tech crazy, little scrambled Facebook Live today. I so look forward to talking with you on time next week.